The Cleveland Browns unveiling new quarterback Deshaun Watson on Friday afternoon. Watson, of course, traded to the Browns last week for a truckload of draft picks, including 3 first-round picks, and he's now the face of the franchise. Shortly after the trade, Watson and the Browns agreeing to a brand new 5-year, $230 million contract. And for more on the unveiling, let's welcome in our CBS Sports senior NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. JJ, let's start at the top here. General Manager Andrew Berry basically coming out and explicitly outlining the due diligence that the franchise did in its pursuit of Watson. This is not something that they undertook overnight. It's something they've been working on for a while. Berry stating that we understand this is a controversial move to bring him in, but added that they do have faith in him. What did you make of what essentially was, a little bit of damage control here?
Yeah, I think that Andrew Berry, who is an incredibly intelligent man, understood that these questions are going to come up. Normally when you trade for a top 5, top 7 quarterback in the NFL, which never happens, but when it does happen, the press conference is celebratory and everyone is getting, the media members are getting to know the new quarterback that's going to be in town for a while and wanting to make an impression with him. They're going to state their name and, all right, welcome to Cleveland here. That's not what this was. This was Andrew Berry at the very beginning saying, hey, I know that there have been a ton of questions about our pursuit of Deshaun Watson and ultimately our trade for him and why was it worth it. So allow me to go ahead and sort of take care of some of those questions. And in what he was talking about, he said and mentioned we hired essentially private investigators in the Houston area to help them understand more about what was going on with some or all of those 22 lawsuits, including the criminal complaints, of which there were nearly double digits. And so we know that Deshaun Watson has gone through 2 grand juries. He was not indicted on any charges. Right now, there are no criminal complaints against Deshaun Watson. And so Andrew Berry was essentially saying that while we did not speak to any of the 22 women directly, because we were advised by our attorneys, the Cleveland Brown attorneys, that could be construed potentially as interfering with a police investigation and criminal complaints, they believe that they got a full understanding of what took place, what these sort of complaints were about via the private investigators. But he also spoke about going deep into Deshaun Watson's background. He mentioned Gainesville, Georgia, where Deshaun Watson grew up right outside of Atlanta and went to high school. He mentioned Clemson and then obviously in Houston with the Texans. And so that's, the Browns had talked about the homework that they had done. And I think a lot of people hearing that said, okay, well, did that homework involve talking to any of the accusers? And so Andrew Berry wanted to take care of that in his opening statement. Whether you want to accept that as being legitimate or not is certainly up to the beholder there. But that's how he led off a very surreal, very unusual press conference where, like I said, Jeremy, a lot of times when you have these press conferences, it's all smiles, confetti, and champagne.
Yeah, and Kevin Stefanski then added, looking forward to adding him to the team and believes in him as a person. Deshaun himself, he had a statement as well. He said that he really wants to show who he really is and plans to get his story out eventually. Obviously, there's something there. And then, he was asked about what do people want, what should people know about him that they don't necessarily know about him. And he says, look, I'm a genuine person. I want to let people know about the guy who I was before all of these allegations came to light. What did you make of Deshaun's comments here?
So I had been told that, and frankly, Deshaun has, for the entire time, he has proclaimed his innocence, right? He said that not only is he not guilty of these charges, but that he is innocent of these. And so I was not at all surprised to hear Deshaun say when he was asked, hey, would you consider counseling or something like that? And he said, I don't have a problem. I don't have an issue. And, another question was asked about, okay, Deshaun, you go to massage therapists, but why are there 22 women who have filed complaints against you? Why are there upwards of 40 massage therapists that you've used over time? And he said, listen, I've been in Houston for some time. Folks leave, folks are busy and times are blocked off. And so he tried to say it wasn't 40 at one time, but it was over a span of time. Take that for what you will. But he also, to the question of why did you, use so many women in so many various forms and not use the ones that are provided by the Houston Texans, for example, or not have someone or a rotation of people under your employer essentially on your payroll. And he said, I can't really get into the details, but he mentioned folks from his generation. He said social media is a big thing. We know from some of the criminal complaints that he engaged with a number of these women via Instagram direct messages. And so it seemed like that's where he was sort of leading. And it didn't make much sense because then he had to cut himself off and say, I really can't go into the details. You could tell Deshaun Watson very clearly had his talking points, which frankly, if you have as many lawsuits against you as Deshaun Watson has, you probably shouldn't be speaking off the cuff at any press conference. And so his talking points were he is a servant leader. He's looking forward, Jeremy, as you mentioned, to showing the community, earning their trust, getting back that trust and showing them the person that he was believed to be in the community before these allegations came out. And that is what he wants to do. And again, he's not taking any sort of blame for these complaints. He still is stating and pleading his innocence. And so far, in a court of law, he has not been found guilty, not been indicted, not been charged with anything. And of course, we're going to see how these civil complaints play out. He said he does not want to settle. That is not his intention to settle any of these lawsuits. He plans to see them through and clear his name. However, no matter what happens with these civil complaints, the NFL may very well still suspend him under the personal conduct policy. Folks around the league are expecting that suspension. It could be 4 games. It could be 6 games. Deshaun Watson would very likely appeal that. But the NFL is going through that process right now. And I don't think that we're going to see any resolution to that anytime soon.
And of course, he has 5 years to prove what kind of a person he is after signing that fully guaranteed $230 million contract with the Browns. He's our senior NFL insider, Jonathan Jones, joining us to discuss the unveiling of Deshaun Watson by the Cleveland Browns on Friday afternoon. And of course, they'll be discussing this on the Pick 6 podcast, probably a lot of JJ's talking points, what we heard at the press conference from Deshaun Watson from the franchise. They'll be discussing that on the Pick 6, your daily fix with Will Brinsley and the gang. Download and follow. You can also watch on YouTube.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.